You're listening to the Intuitive Souls podcast. I am your host, Sarah Caruso, and this podcast is designed to educate, inspire, and enlighten. Let's wake up together. Hi guys, and welcome to the show. I first want to start off this episode with some really amazing news that I am just like, I cannot stop smiling. Like seriously, I cannot wipe the smile off my face. I just got word that this podcast has more than doubled its downloads within 2 months. I mean, this is going to be this is episode 11. Yeah, it's episode 11. And within 11 episodes, the audience and the subscribers have nearly doubled. That's amazing, guys. I was not expecting this at all. I thought it was going to take months and months and months for this to grow and for it to reach the people that it had to reach. So I'm literally smiling ear to ear. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and for all your wonderful comments on iTunes. I really do appreciate it. I read each and every one. Thank you for sharing this to friends who you may think that can benefit from all the information that I'm giving out. I'm truly my heart is so happy right now, guys. And I am beyond grateful. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do and for listening and for sharing about this podcast. So I am going to start with the essential oil and the crystal and the oracle card of the week. I always ask my guests if they have a oil that they're using or a crystal that they're really vibing with at that moment. So I asked this week's guest, Kori Michelle, what she's been using, what's been helping her. And she chose, which I really, really like what she chose. Her crystal was fluorite. And next week, believe it or not, I have a crystal award show coming with my dear soul friend, Michael Sclafani, and we were talking about what crystals are best for different things. And one of the awards was for best crystal for focus and intention, and we chose fluorite. Both of us, believe it or not. So fluorite is highly protective, especially on a psychic level. It helps you to discern when outside influences are at work within yourself and shuts off psychic manipulation and undue mental influence. This stone cleanses and stabilizes the aura. It is extremely effective against computer and electromagnetic stress. Appropriately positioned, it blocks geopathic stress. Used in healing, fluorite draws off negative energies and stress of all kinds. It cleanses, purifies, dispels, and reorganizes anything within the body that is not perfect in order. So, as you can see, this is a really, really great stone. I use it a lot when I'm doing creative work or when I really need to focus on a project. So I'm so glad that she chose that. And she also chose for the essential oil of the week, sweet orange. So not to be confused with bitter orange, wild orange, or neroli, sweet orange is very inexpensive essential oil with a multitude of uses. In aromatherapy, it brings feelings of happiness and security, and in the digestive tract, it calms indigestion, particularly the kind that accompanies stress. Sweet orange is a good cold and flu remedy that boosts the immune system, and like its cousin mandarin, it can help cranky children chill. And literally, that's what it says in this book. It helps cranky children chill. So good to know, especially since it is mid-February, the peak of flu season. So definitely get yourself some sweet orange if you are dealing with, runny noses, cranky kids. Definitely will help. Okay, let's get to the oracle card of the week. So I pulled from the Mermaids and Dolphins oracle cards from Doreen Virtue. And the card I pulled is Make a Wish. And it says, this is a magical moment, make a wish and enjoy its manifestation. So it really is, especially with, us being in the new moon in Aquarius. It is a really great time to manifest realities and to put our wishes and our intentions out there, because it is a beautiful time of, manifesting. So let's do it, guys. Whatever you guys are thinking, whatever wish you have, put it in words. I always say, like, when you have something in your head, right? And it's in your head and you keep thinking about it and it keeps on coming back, write it down, because that energy, when we put something into writing, we make that wish much more powerful. So go ahead, write it down and manifest the crap out of it. So our guest today, her name is Kori Michelle, and she is a Radical Soul Alchemist. And I just have to say, like, I did 2 interviews back to back, and I absolutely loved both interviews. These people are so inspiring and so just high vibe, and it was so great to like connect with both of them, and Kori was one of them. And Kori is so good at speaking her truth and kind of honoring her trauma that she went through in her life and letting it be her anchor almost. And you will see in the you'll see in the interview just how she really is so in touch with herself, and she doesn't hide anything. She is so upfront and honest about who she is and her struggles. And I really truly believe that is what makes her an amazing coach. So thank you, Kori Michelle. You are absolutely amazing, and I hope you guys enjoy the interview.
Hi guys, welcome back to the show. I am Erica Russo, psychic medium and lover of all things woo-woo, and I am your host of this wonderful podcast. And today I have asked Kori Michelle, Radical Soul Alchemist, to come on, and we're going to talk a little bit about living your spiritual truth and answering the call from your soul. Kori, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, so it's going to be hard to shut me up. No, I won't do that to you. I love talking about myself. Okay, so basically what I do in the world is I help high achieving, high vibe, conscious business owners to step fully into their role as wealthy and fulfilled entrepreneurs and visionaries and leaders who impact the world with their epic mission by following soul and just getting really in alignment with who they were born to be and stepping outside of fear and all of that good stuff. So, yeah.
So you're basically, I want to say you're basically the person that helps us light workers do what we are here to do.
Totally. Yes.
That is
get paid for it and like own your value, all of those things.
Yeah, that is a really great job to have. So I want to know what your definition of intuition and your definition of soul is.
Okay. So intuition is that it's that knowing, it's that connectedness that, whenever you get quiet with yourself, it drops in and it feels expansive. A lot of people ask, what's the difference between, like, how do I know if it's my ego or my intuition? Well, one feels expansive and one feels like contracting. And that's kind of how I like to think about it. It's really important to understand the feminine and masculine aspects of yourself as well. So you know what is intuition, so you can follow inspired action. It's like those moments whenever you get this idea and you know I need to do it right now, but you're like, let me just put it on my list or whatever, for later. I'll do it later. But then by the time you get to it, the momentum or the energy behind it is lost. So I think of that as intuition. And I also think of that as soul. Soul is what moves us. It's our reason for being. And it's also, depending on if you believe in, past lives and things like that, our soul is the thing that remains immortal. It's what carries all of, like the traumas and the successes, and it carries that from lifetime to lifetime, but it also is connected to this higher self version of us that knows all things. So I think that those are pretty much my definitions of soul and intuition.
Yeah. I love how you spoke about intuition and versus ego, because that is the biggest problem that I feel like that's basically the biggest problem we all deal with is it intuition or is it ego? And the way you said, how it expands you or it contracts you, that's a perfect way of saying the difference between intuition and ego. And I always say, like, your intuition, it's kind of like that silent guru, you know what I mean? That just knows, that's very calming, and it just comes with wisdom that you need at the time. Your ego is everything outside of you,
Totally.
So that is a great way of explaining that. So
the ego wants to make like a plan,
right.
Wants to know all of it. But whenever you're following intuition, you just, like you said, you just get that next step, and you have to step out in faith and trust.
Right. Yeah, totally. So tell us a little bit about your work and how you woke up to your soul's purpose.
Okay. So my story kind of has shaped and molded me just like everyone else. Whenever I was 15, we had a really traumatic experience in our family, which really made me start to question if I was like, I was perfectionist, high achiever. That's why I work with high achievers. And I just spiraled down into depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-harm, suicidal ideation, and then addiction, into homelessness, into other things that I'm just not ready to talk about. And then a very close call with death, right? So, and that all came from like the trauma of this one event in my life. And I'm so grateful for it, because without that, I really wouldn't understand the depths of this experience that would go on through our psyche, from that to creating all the amazing things that I've created in my life. I know that it was on purpose. And so that's kind of how I got to where I am now, is by going through all of the really, really ugly stuff first. And I have 2 kids, and after my second daughter, I stayed at home with her for 14 months, and then I got a job as a server, and I was really good at it, and I made lots of money doing it, but I fell back into addiction. And so someone had been asking me to join their MLM for like a year, and I decided to do it. And suddenly I felt purpose again. And for anybody who's ever struggled with addiction of any kind, whether it's eating disorders or even depression or anxiety, that your family's not enough to make you stop being the way that you are, right? So, even having kids and a husband, like that wasn't enough to make me have purpose. But joining this MLM somehow did. And I know that it was because I was able to come back on path, right? And I rediscovered personal development and stuff like that. I've been into personal development for 17 years, even through addiction and all of that, especially into science, quantum physics, and the way that the universe works. It's like, I'm such a nerd for that stuff. But coming back into it, was really important for me to go through MLM and then go through affiliate marketing. And then I taught myself a lot about funnels and marketing and things like that. And then I, through success with MLM, through success with affiliate marketing, I found myself unfulfilled, even though I was pushing for something. I was pushing for the success, for the money, for the, notoriety and all of those things. But I would get it and I realized I wasn't fulfilled by it. And another thing I had realized was that through the whole time I had been coaching people from all the companies would ask me for help. And it was usually around mindset. And I just hired a coach and decided, you know what, I'm just going to start doing mindset. I'm giving away all my time. I should be getting paid for it.
Right.
So I started a group for free. I did lots and lots of trainings for free for like a month or 2 months. And then I decided to put out my first offer, and I made like $6,000 that weekend. And I was like, holy crap, this is fulfilling and profitable. More people need to know how to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's so nice to see that you're so open and honest about your story and how you came to where you are, because, you know, through trauma is, you know, it's so like, it's really great to see that you knew, you know, you almost knew what was going on when you were going through all of this. And you almost kind of knew in the back of your head that, you know, this is a lesson that I need to be taught or I need to master or something. And just the way you're talking about all of this shows me that like you're very much, much more in tune with your soul, you know, than a lot of other people that struggle with addiction and all of this, because you do, you know, you realize the faults and you realize the struggles that you have, but you are able to just be so honest about it. So I commend you with that. Seriously.
Thank you. I think part of it too was knowing, like when I was really little, I knew I was like, quote unquote, different.
Right.
I felt more deeply than a lot of people. And because I felt so deeply, I think I shut down my emotions at a really early age.
Me too.
Yeah. So you don't get hurt, right? It's easier, especially for us sensitive people.
Yeah.
But I knew there was a calling on my life. So the calling came, but I didn't step into it till much later.
Right.
Yeah. So there was something else I was going to tell you about that, but it was kind of like also knowing that this is all just a dream, kind of. I don't know. I've always felt like that it was an illusion, even before being introduced to like anything, you know, as a kid, feeling like this isn't like, it's not solid. It didn't feel solid ever. And so it was just kind of knowing that like, this is just another experience I'm having, no matter how dramatic I was in the moment. It was still just like this knowing in the back of your mind, just like, okay.
Right. It's, it's so like, oh my God, I'm like feeling you 100% because you know, you grow as you're growing up into adolescence and stuff like that, you know, sensitivity, you're just labeled too sensitive. You're just labeled too, you know, and then when you hit puberty and, you know, teenage years, you're just labeled, you know, a crazy teenage girl, you know? And it's like, I always knew that there was something else other than just hormones. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I read The Highly Sensitive Person and everything just started clicking. And then I just really dove into, I was like, this is who I am. I'm empathic, I'm sensitive, and, you know, you just need to learn boundaries. But it's so easy, especially when you're a kid and you're this sensitive, to just shut it off and just all the emotions. Like I was a pro at putting things under the rug, like a pro. Like seriously, anything.
I bet you still are sometimes, right?
Oh my God, yeah, totally. But I know that like it's like a little creeper that like, I don't like this emotion right now. I'm just gonna put it there. But I know you're looking at me, and I know you want my attention. But it really it's hard to deal with sensitivity when you're a child. So, you know, going through all that, that's really tough.
Yeah, and they don't teach that stuff in school, right? Like boundaries, what's boundaries, right? I didn't even really learn deep boundaries until about 2 years ago.
Right.
Or not even.
I know. I was telling my husband, I was like, you know, I can't tell you what I learned in like middle school. I don't remember what we learned. Do you remember what you learned in middle school?
No, it's just the feeling that you remember, right? Feeling insecure, wanting to fit in.
Exactly. And I'm like, just like with mindfulness and stuff, why wouldn't we be taught mindfulness and meditation and, you know, about sensitivities and stuff like that? Because I can't tell you what I learned in my 7th grade social studies class. Like I have no clue, you know what I mean? Like we should be taught this stuff to become, you know, adults and to learn about self-growth and to learn to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that's a part of my mission too, is to bring consciousness into schools and rehab centers for adolescents, not grown-ups.
Right. Yeah, it should start at adolescence, personally. I really think, there's so many things, especially, being that kid that had all the problems and, dealing with depression and wanting to fit in and stuff like that. I always say, I wish I knew then what I know now. So that is such a great thing that you're trying to do with, bringing this sort of thinking into schools, because it can only benefit, you know what I mean? There's no wrong about it.
Well, that's what, like, a lot of us are here for those kind of things, to just disrupt certain industries. Right. And online, you see a lot, especially with coaches and healers and things like that, is that what we end up doing is coaching other coaches and coaching other healers and things like that, but really it's starting to evolve. Yeah. And what we're meant to do is to go out into the world and disrupt industries and, change the way that things have been done. That's what light workers are for, is to help to bring in the change. And it's, obviously it starts inside, and you coach other coaches and healers and things like that for a while until you realize, oh yeah, it's supposed to be bigger. And then your mission sort of switches from like, okay, I'm going to help you to coach these people for a while, but what is your bigger mission? What is your bigger mission? Because none of that's ever going to fulfill you if you don't have this larger calling on your life that actually contributes to society as a whole. In my opinion, especially for high achievers anyways, perfectionists, people like that. It's like you need an impossible goal to reach for, or seemingly impossible.
Right. It's not about how much money you want to make in a year. It's the message you want to give to the world.
Totally.
Yeah. Love that. So if you could give, 3 words of advice to anyone listening that is holding back from, answering their soul's calling, what advice would you give them?
Okay. I look at this question and think that it's all 100% internal, and it has to start with forgiveness. Like, it absolutely has to start with forgiveness. And a lot of the time when we think of forgiveness, we're looking outside and we're like, how can I forgive that person or whatever? It just needs to start with you. Like, forgiving yourself is like the hardest thing. I still every day get flashbacks, like PSTD, like serious trauma, like flashbacks from when I was homeless and stuff. And I have to forgive myself, even whenever it's like when I was the victim of something. I still have to forgive myself every single day. And it's that process of releasing and opening your heart to love, to loving yourself. That's what starts to take the walls down so that you can tune into intuition, so you can tune into soul, and so that you can hear and to trust yourself fully. Because until you trust yourself, if you haven't forgiven yourself, then you're going to have the patterns of sabotaging, right? Whenever you get a certain distance or whatever you're doing, we start to sabotage sometimes because we don't fully trust ourselves. And it comes back into knowing the feminine and masculine aspects of yourself. Because if you're not trusting your masculine aspect of yourself to deliver to you what you're desiring, then it's not going to come. And so I think that forgiveness is one. Just do the things that you're terrified of doing. Like, if it feels like you're going to die, do it. Because the action alone is what propels you past the fear. Like, you can do mindset work all day, but until you do the action to eliminate the fear, to alchemize it, then it's going to be there. And then number 3, this is a really hard question, I think. Those are two really good ones. And 4, like, really, really foster deep connections with people who are at a higher level of understanding and a lower level of understanding, and maybe instead of understanding is like the awakened aspects, so like how
Right.
conscious people are, super conscious people, and people that are a little bit less, so that you can be served and be of service.
I love that. That is a really good third. I like all of them, but that third one is so, I love that. To educate yourself on just the levels of dimensions, essentially, in the, human consciousness is definitely something like, I try to bring, what I know to people that, aren't as aware as I am. And I'm always listening to people that are much more conscious than I am. And that is a great way to just always be learning, but always be helping.
Absolutely.
That was really great. Thank you so much for all of that. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and telling your story and, just talking a little bit about your past, because, let's be real. It's not easy talking about it. It's not easy, admitting, our faults and stuff. So for you to come on so honorably and talk about that is really beautiful. And I think you inspire a lot of people. You really do. You really do.
You. That means so much. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
It's really fun.
Yeah. And I like your shirt. Guys, she's wearing the Beatles Abbey Road shirt. Represent. I think I have it somewhere. It's like right next to my Sublime shirt that's like hiding somewhere. But awesome shirt too. Thank you so much, Kori, for coming on.
I'm so grateful that you've asked me to be here. I cannot get enough of having conversations, deep, meaningful, transformational, impacting conversations with people. It makes my heart happy that there are people that do this.
Oh, thank you.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.